All right, joining us now on the Newshour Agenda is AIMIM Chief and Member of Parliament, Mr. Asaduddin Owaisi. There have been a number of reactions coming in. Largely, people are holding back on the intent of this entire exercise. What do you make of the legal process, Mr. Owaisi?
You're talking about the Gyanvapi Mosque survey and the commissioner order?
Yes, sir.
So I have been saying from earlier also, I've said this, I'm reiterating again. This particular order of the lower court to go for a survey and videography is a complete and blatant violation of 1991 Places of Religious Worship Act. It is nothing but trying to change the nature and character of the masjid. And secondly, it is a blatant violation of the Honorable Supreme Court order, a judgment given in the Babri Masjid Ram Mandir trial, wherein the honorable judges have categorically stated that the 1991 Act is now part of the basic structure of the Constitution. So no lower court can violate an act that has been passed by the Parliament, and neither can they completely disregard and blatantly violate the Supreme Court judgment. And that is why I am of the opinion that the Personal Law Board and the Masjid Committee should immediately go to the Honorable Supreme Court against this order of survey ordered by the lower court.
But Mr. Owaisi, the Places of Worship Act says that the character of a place of worship cannot be altered in any way. This has been addressed by the Allahabad High Court as well as the District Court today, who have both said that the job of the commissioner is only to survey. They are not making any changes. Then what does this have to do with the Places of Worship Act? They are just clicking pictures and making videos, not making changes.
Well, you know that in 1991, the same Allahabad High Court had given a stay on the same contentions. And already stay is there. Number one. Number two is that we know for a fact what will happen, that you are creating an issue out of a non-issue. Why is there a need for you when the Parliament and the courts have categorically stated that the masjid, temple or whatever religious place which stood on 15th August 1947 should not be changed? This is the first step, in my opinion, to change the nature and character of the Gyanvapi Masjid. And as a Muslim, I have lost a Babri Masjid. I have learned lessons, bitter lessons from what happened in 1948 when, in a surreptitious way, idols were placed. I have learned very bitterly that when Rajiv Gandhi was the Prime Minister, when no computers were there, a 20-30 page order was given without hearing the Muslim side. I have learned a bitter lesson that despite giving a commitment to Supreme Court, the masjid was demolished and no one was convicted. So I have to learn from these lessons, and that is why I say that I have lost one masjid. I do not want to lose another masjid. But as a proud Indian, I don't want this country to be thrown into a turmoil which existed pre-demolition and post-demolition. That is why I am of the opinion that immediately the Masjid Committee should go to the Supreme Court before the summer vacation starts and stop this blatant violation of the Parliament Act and the Supreme Court judgment. That is what I want from the committee and the Personal Law Board to do.
But sir, this is your apprehension. And apprehension of what may happen cannot stop people from going to court. These are 5 women who have exercised their legal right to say we want to see what is in the basement. And apprehension of what may follow after the survey cannot stop these petitioners.
Well, let me give you another example. Today, one Mr. Rajneesh, who happens to be the media in charge of BJP unit, had gone to the Allahabad High Court. The 2 judges bench had very rightfully stated that now tomorrow you want to come into our chambers. Where is an end to this nonsense? Please tell me. The same facts. They wanted to go beneath what is there in Taj Mahal. Here you want to go what is there beneath the Gyanvapi Masjid.
Exactly, sir. So aren't you, if I may just ask a quick counter question, sir, aren't you actually then making out the case that where there is genuine evidence, courts have given a go-ahead, and where the case was frivolous, the court has thrown it out? The same Allahabad High Court, which today said that 22 rooms will not be opened on your demand, also said in April this year that a survey should happen. Same Allahabad High Court.
No. Listen to me. Not on my demand. The Allahabad High Court, as far as Taj Mahal is concerned, one Mr. Rajneesh, who's the BJP media in charge of Ayodhya unit, has gone.
They told Mr. Rajneesh that on your demand, we won't open 22 rooms. And similarly, to these ladies, they said, okay, go ahead with the survey.
Please allow me to complete.
Yes.
The same contentions were raised in 1991, and then Allahabad High Court had given a stay on it. And I am saying that the present order of this lower court must be challenged in the Honorable Supreme Court, because this is a blatant violation of the Supreme Court judgment.
But sir,
where is an end to this nonsense? Tomorrow I will say that I want to excavate where Prime Minister residence is, and my belief is that there is a masjid over there.
But sir, the 23rd of April...
No, Madam, please allow me to complete.
Yes.
As far as the evidence aspect is concerned, the evidence should be for all you and me in the court, the 1991 Places of Religious Worship Act. The evidence should be the Supreme Court judgment given in the title suit. That is evidence enough.
But sir, there is also evidence.
No, cannot go beyond this evidence. And lastly, what has happened in Qutub Minar, what has happened in Quwwat al-Islam Masjid, what has happened even in Kashmir, an ASI protected monument, the Lieutenant Governor completely disregarded the ASI law.
But sir, each case has to be seen in isolation.
BJP leading the country too.
I again want to go back to the point. You are talking about evidence. Can you disregard evidence? And that will be decided only by court after a survey. That there exists a lotus figurine, a bell, a Vishnu Murti, another Hindu-looking idol in the compound of the masjid. And which is why if a devotee says, I want the court to decide whether this was a Hindu property, should they be stopped?
Listen to me, please listen to me. The courts cannot decide after the 1991 Act categorically stated that what religious places stood on 15th August 1947 apart from Babri Masjid, their nature and character cannot be changed. What you are saying is that one cannot claim their astha. On the basis of astha, you cannot decide. The decision has to come basing on the 1991 Act and what the Honorable Supreme Court stated in the Babri Masjid Ram Mandir title suit. That has to be the basis.
But then why is it that the court gets to decide? The court gets to decide on the Taj Mahal, but the court doesn't get to decide on Gyanvapi Masjid?
1991 Act and the Supreme Court judgment, simple as that.
Why does the court get to decide on the Taj Mahal 22 rooms being opened, but the court cannot decide on the issue of Gyanvapi Mosque?
Well, that is what I'm giving you an example. If in Taj Mahal the court said nothing doing, the court should have also said the same thing about Gyanvapi Masjid. Because you see, 1991 Act.
Why, sir?
And protected monument of ASI. These are all legally protected monuments.
Sir, you are talking about...
Madam, please understand that this issue has been decided by the whole country, apart from Babri Masjid. Why are you opening up these issues? You have a vested interest. You want to plunge this country into the same environment of 1980s and post-1992. This is your main agenda.
Whose agenda?
Minar, an ASI protected monument.
Whose agenda?
Going to Quwwat Islam Masjid, doing puja in an ASI protected monument in Kashmir with the presence of Lieutenant Governor. What does that tell you?
Whose agenda, sir?
It is the agenda of BJP and the Sangh Parivaar.
But sir, the first case in Gyanvapi Masjid was in 1800. In 1936, the British government submitted a map. The BJP didn't even exist. 1936, there were maps submitted by the British government.
Exactly, the BJP did not even exist. Neither RSS existed when the War of Independence was being taken place. But now we are an independent country. Madam, allow me. We are an independent country. We have law. We have the Supreme Court. And we have to follow that law which has been passed by the Parliament of India. We have to follow what the Supreme Court has said in the judgment. The judgment of Supreme Court itself is the law. under the Constitution of India.
But sir, how can you call it the BJP agenda when for 130 years people have fought this case? 130 years ago.
No, madam, I'm sorry. All these cases have finished when we passed the 1991 law. No other case exists apart from the Babri Masjid.
But sir, that will be adjudicated by the court.
That's it. End of the matter. The Supreme Court has assured it in the Supreme Court judgment. That is the end of the matter. You cannot open other issues. You cannot change the nature and character of any religious place. And please understand, this is the same apprehension I had given in my reaction to the judgment of Babri Masjid. Tomorrow you will say that Haji Ali Dargah was a temple. You already stated about Taj Mahal. You already stated about Qutub Minar. We have passed a law that no nature and character of any place of religious place would be changed. These people want to question that act. And I hope that immediately Supreme Court, these parties should go to Supreme Court so that this survey should be stopped immediately.
Sir, don't you think when you express apprehensions that people are going to take the law in their hand like they did in the case of Babri Masjid, the chance of that happening is greater when they are denied legal recourse and there is a brewing resentment as opposed to when they go to court and the court eventually may even say, I'm sorry, there is no temple in the basement of Gyanvapi Mosque. And then the people will have to say, all right, we abide by the court's judgment. But at least the matter will be settled, unlike how so far it has been allowed to fester, breeding resentment. Actually, that is what happened in the case of Babri Masjid as well. Repeatedly, the judgment was withheld. The judgment was supposed to be delivered, but it wasn't. And then the Kar Seva happened.
Madam, may I tell you, without even courts pronouncing that the masjid was demolished in Babri Masjid, without even courts pronouncing anything, idols were surreptitiously placed in Babri Masjid, without even hearing the Muslim side, the locks were opened. And after giving a solemn affirmation to the Supreme Court, the masjid was demolished. I do not want to lose one more masjid, and tomorrow I will not accept it as fait accompli. That is why I am saying that I have lost one masjid. I will not lose another masjid. And I say this because I say this with a lot of respect and responsibility, because the 1991 Act assures me as an Indian that no place of worship which existed in 1947, their nature and character will be changed. And if tomorrow someone says that because my astha, I'll become violent, deal with those lumpen elements. You cannot run this country on the perception that my astha is being hurt and commit an act of violence.
Sir, it is.
How can you the criteria?
Sir, it is
then
not.
Where will rule of law be go? Where will rule of law go?
Sir, it is not a question of
the Constitution of India.
Sir, it is not a question of astha. You keep quoting the Places of Worship Act. Two courts have gone into the merits of whether that act applies to this case, and even today's judgment says, and I quote, श्रृंगार गौरी कहाँ स्थित है अथवा नहीं, इसकी स्थिति कमीशन कार्रवाई के बाद मामले के गुण दोष के आधार पर करेगा. Basically saying whether श्रृंगार गौरी exists or not, we will decide later. This survey has got nothing to do with deciding or changing the character of Gyanvapi Mosque. All we are saying is, and what is the need for a survey? Here is what the judgment says about that. They say, विवादित परिसर के भीतर इतनी संख्या में चित्र, चिन्ह और कलाकृति पाई जाती हैं और मामले में उचित न्याय के लिए उसकी वीडियोग्राफी करना आवश्यक है. Because there is so much visual evidence, we need to have a survey for the case to go anywhere. Simple. Period. No change.
Listen to me, please. Now you have said a long sentence over here. Now, please listen to me. Vivadit. It's not Vivadit. It's not a controversial place. It is a masjid. It will be a masjid because the 1991 Act says about it. Why is the court bringing in this controversy? That is what I am apprehensive about. Vivadit. Where is that? Where is the controversy over here? It's a masjid because the 1991 Act clearly states that about it. What place of worship should on 15th August? That is it.
So you're saying
there is no controversy over it. And the Supreme Court has upheld that act and made a part of basic structure. So this is where I'm telling that the countrymen should listen to what you have just said now. What is there about objection to it? You are creating a new controversy. You are plunging this country into that dark period of post-demolition and pre-demolition, which you do not want.
So basically you're saying, sir, for apprehension of law and order, people should not go to court. They should just let sleeping dogs.
Madam, I am not threatening about law and order. I am saying the law should be followed. The Supreme Court judgment should be followed. But and the lower courts are duty bound to implement an act which has been passed by the Parliament.
But the
lower court are duty bound to accept a judgment which has been passed by the Honorable Supreme Court.
But the law of the land also allows petitioners like Rakhi Singh to go to court and say, I have an apprehension. I dispute the antecedents of this mosque. I want it to be clarified.
You cannot go because the law categorically has said clearly that what existed on 15th August 1947 period finished. You cannot go now. We have decided in the country that this law is there. Now tomorrow if Mr. Narendra Modi wants to amend that act or remove that act, that's a different thing. But so long as the act exists, it is the duty of the Prime Minister Narendra Modi to assure the country that his government would stand by the 1991 Act and would stand by what the Supreme Court has said in the judgment of the title dispute. It is high time the BJP government headed by Mr. Narendra Modi clarify to the nation, because all these people have an umbilical connection with the Sangh Parivaar.
In fact, the government had said very clearly, even after the judgment on Ram Janmabhoomi, that anything that has to happen will happen only through the court. Since you keep talking, sir, about the law always, here is how people from Anjuman Intizamiya and the mosque side responded to the survey. And I quote from the judgment, where they say, On the 5th of May 2022, निरीक्षण के समय एडवोकेट कमिश्नर को प्रवेश करने से रोकने के लिए मुस्लिम समुदाय के सदस्य परिसर में खड़े हो गए जो पहले से छिपकर बैठे थे। प्रतिवादी संख्या नंबर 4 कमीशन की कार्रवाई को पूरा करने में हर समय बाधा उत्पन्न कर रहे हैं। Basically saying that the petitioner number 4, which is the Muslim side, did everything possible to try and create roadblocks in the survey. If that really is upholding the law, then we leave the rest to your judgment. Mr. Asaduddin Owaisi, thank you very much for having spoken to us here on the Newshour Agenda.